Thanks for taking the time to listen to our latest content here on the Blood Red channel. Guy here with just a quick message. Do you want the very latest Liverpool FC news directly into your inbox? Well, then sign up to our daily LFC newsletter, which will bring you the breaking news and big events from around Anfield. To subscribe, just go to bit.ly/LFC newsletter. That's bit.ly/LFC newsletter, or click the link in the description of this podcast and pop in your email address. It really is that simple. That link once more, bit.ly/LFC newsletter. Well, thanks for your time, and on with the podcast.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
From doubters to believers, nearly men to champions of England, this is the Blood Red cast. We react to Liverpool winning the Premier League and securing a 19th league title. I'm Guy Clarke. Alongside me, Paul Gorst, Ian Doyle and Caoimhe O'Neill. We'll be discussing the moment the Reds became champions, the scintillating start Jurgen Klopp's side have delivered, and where next to conquer. With all of that to come, as I say, three people alongside me who last night were glued to their TV sets before having to get on with plenty of work. Come to straight to Paul Gorst, our Liverpool correspondent. And first things first, the emotion that you felt when that final whistle went at Stamford Bridge and Liverpool ended their 30-year wait to be champions.
A mixture of joy and, oh no, this is going to be a late night at work. So kind of a mix of both. But I don't think Liverpool were ever going to get their Aguero moment worthy simply because of how good they've been all season. We've known for some time now. I know Klopp has always refused to say it, and some fans have been wary of saying it. But I've known for a good while now. I think I voted as far back as November that Liverpool were going to be the champions. Now I think when they beat Manchester City in November, that opened up a 9-point gap, and given the small margins between the teams the year previous, I just thought that was probably too much for City to claw back. So we all knew it was coming, but that doesn't mean it was any less celebrated when it arrived. I've seen so many videos of the players, of Klopp having a dance, of Andy Robertson and Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold, and of the fans as well. I've seen Anfield, I've seen Larke Lane, I've seen the city centre. Just so many areas of this region have been populated by fans who have been quick to celebrate. And I know Jurgen Klopp has kind of said, celebrate on your front path, and he's tried to relay what he feels is the correct message. But it's difficult to tell Liverpool supporters to do that, isn't it? After 30 years of waiting for this, the next few weeks now are going to be an incredible time to be following the club, to be supporting the club, and just generally being connected with this football club. It's going to be, fantastic. And this is the start of what I expect to be a dominant period for the club.
Yeah, Doyle, it did just have that eruption last night. The emotion just came pouring out that Liverpool were champions 30 years in waiting. A generation of Reds fans have grown up with the jibes of maybe next year and the like, but now Liverpool are back on their perch.
Yeah, I'm now no longer the only person on the sports desk who remembers Liverpool winning the league. So everybody welcome my club, basically, especially the people on the sports desk. Interesting thing is when the second half, I was actually on a Zoom call with my family we still do a weekly quiz, which is basically just an excuse for us to just talk a load of nonsense. And I had the game on, and all of them are Liverpool fans. So I was relaying what was happening. So it's like, it's a penalty. Oh, and he's giving it. So it was quite funny in that respect. And then literally when the final whistle went, I just went, gotta go now, bye. So as Mr. Gorst said, we had a very long night doing work, but yeah, it's there were fireworks going off here. I mean, it's not giving too much away to say that I actually live in St Helens, which is about 14 miles away. And when they came up and it said 6 minutes of injury time to go, I think some people went, that's it. They were letting fireworks off and everything. So, even from this far away, it felt as though you were being involved. And yeah, I mean, as Ghosty said, they were never going to get that moment, but the excitement of the single moment. But in some ways, it was wasn't it, the fact that it was games against Crystal Palace and involving Crystal Palace and Chelsea that have ended up sending the title to Liverpool, given what happened in 2014. And Willian, who was the one who scored the winning penalty, of course, scored the second over Chelsea 2-0. I mean, I bring it up, but hopefully you can mention things like this now, because it effectively doesn't really matter. Liverpool have won it now, and it's interesting to see what happens next now, because as Ghosty said, still 7 games to go, so a massive lap of honour for the entire team. So it should be they won't have finished it this season. They'll be thinking we can, try and win every game. And of course, the next one's against City, which I think there might be 1 or 2 tasty tackles going in that game.
Yeah, there could be just 1 or 2. Caoimhe, you've got your Football Echo behind you, the Champions Souvenir edition that is out today. 2. You got 2? Yeah, you got, brilliant. But in terms of the game at Stamford Bridge, that second half, just emotion and just how eventful it was. City equalising early on, Raheem Sterling hitting the post, then the penalty at the other end. It was a rollercoaster of emotions in that second half.
Probably been the best game seen since post-lockdown, hasn't it? It was so exciting. I'm still getting the red wine from my teeth, I think, Guy. Obviously, it was a brilliant night for everyone, associated with Liverpool Football Club, fans the world over. And, what a game it was. Of course, former Klopp player Christian Pulisic scores one of the best goals I've ever seen, just for sheer speed and just what it meant. You just knew from that point, even when, and then Sterling goes and hits the post, and you just kind of know, an ex-Liverpool player, you kind of felt like they're not doing it here. So it was totally whirlwind for me. I was doing I was on the BBC Health service, and it weren't full time yet, so I was trying to keep track. I was in the kitchen, and they were shouting in here. I was like, "Keep it down! You've got to keep it down." I'm trying to be professional in here. And then obviously the penalty thing happened. That situation, which was just totally crazy, and you kind of there was points in the season where you felt like City sort of just I always said, Pep Guardiola lost his head. And there were sort of moments like that in that game, and Liverpool needed that, they were going to be champions, but just to get across the line, we needed that little bit of, look, and it's nice to sort of see them so desperately trying to, Fernandinho trying to keep the ball out of the net. That was proper desperation from a veteran, experienced player. So to see that, and I feel like I didn't want Liverpool to win it when he wasn't playing, but I almost think I enjoyed it more because we didn't have to, go through the trials and tribulations of a Liverpool game. We watched them be world class on Wednesday, and then we just got to enjoy it last night, didn't we? So absolutely over the moon, as with everyone else. Right now it's just it almost, you feel like you don't know how you're going to feel because you've never felt it before, and then you've got that many feelings where you just kind of feel numb, don't you? So I'm at that stage, probably going to have another few drinks later to try and get in.
Are you sure that numbness isn't to do with all the drinks?
What?
Are you sure that numbness isn't to do with all the drinks?
Could be, to be fair, yeah. It's a good place to be in right now. I'm happy.
No, you certainly look happy. Gorsty, in terms of how it did play out, Manchester City dropping points. Okay, Liverpool didn't secure it, winning in a game that they were obviously playing in themselves. But anyway, is it the narrative of the story? Liverpool setting the pace and Manchester City unable to cope with the pressure that was being put on them?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was City's 8th defeat of the season, which is incredible when you think of how good they are and what a squad they've got. I was trying to think the other day about how, I know Jurgen Klopp said it on Tuesday, how has this Manchester City team ended up so far behind, this Liverpool team, and I was shocked when I seen how many they lost. And I know they lost home and away to Wolves, and Liverpool beat them, and Manchester City beat them home and away. But it just seems incredible that Liverpool is so far ahead, as good as they have been, so far ahead of a Manchester City team that's probably one of the best the Premier League has ever seen. So that's just a testament to how good the Reds have been and what an incredible campaign it's been. And I think now it should just be a case of Klopp and his players kind of enjoying it for a few days. And Klopp said he was happy there's 8 days between games, as now he gets a little bit of a chance to celebrate it properly. But there's still quite a bit to go for between now and the end of the season. And I think this team deserves to be recognised as the greatest champions ever in terms of point tally and points difference between first and second. So I think whilst they're still up for grabs, Liverpool should be going for that with everything they've got.
I know you've got to leave us in 10 minutes' time, Gorsty. So just come back to you and we'll go around in terms of moments, in whether it be a moment that you thought this is it, Liverpool are going to end the Baron spell and become champions, or whether it just be the moment, the standout time in the season that actually will always resonate. I'll start with you, Gorst, on what that moment was.
There was a few, wasn't there? I think Leicester on Boxing Day when Liverpool went there, and Liverpool had an incredibly busy December. Doyle was with them in Qatar, and it was just a bit of a whirl of a month. Can't remember exactly the amount of games off the top of my head, but it was quite a lot. And Leicester was still in with a shout, as ridiculous as it might sound now, of launching a bit of a title challenge under Brendan Rodgers, and that was a real test of Liverpool's title credentials. And they went there and put on an absolute show and battered Leicester from start to finish, won 4-0. And come away, and the title was done and dusted there and then for me, while the Christmas lights were still on. So probably that one. I think Aston Villa in the November to fight back a goal down in injury time and win it 2-1. That was a massive moment, as was the City game. And when Mohamed Salah stuck it away against Manchester United to make it 2-0, that was the moment that even the Kop allowed themselves to believe, wasn't it? So quite a few moments, and it's been a long procession, hasn't it, to title greatness. There's no one moment that you could say was the defining one, but there are several big ones that you could say kind of point towards this position that Liverpool are in now.
Yeah, Doyle, for you?
Yeah, those four. I would like to point out as well, City have lost 8 games in the league this season. Can you name me another team that's lost 8 games in the Premier League this season?
No,
Arsenal, unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to put it down to one game, it's the Leicester one. For those reasons that's been mentioned, but also because the very next day, City played Wolves, didn't they? And Wolves won 3-2, and City had already lost to Wolves that season. It's interesting. City seem to have this thing where if they lose to somebody, it gets inside their heads, because they've lost repeatedly to United this season. They keep on losing to Liverpool. Wolves is another one. And they get one or two results, like the Norwich one very early on, which they lost. I mean, even from very early on, you could tell that City, through losing certain players and certain players coming to the end of their natural cycle, and perhaps they just don't have the hunger that they used to have, which is natural in a way. But Liverpool just wanted it more than City did. And I think Pep saw that straight away. And you don't win, 28, 31 games. Jurgen Klopp said this all season. You can't win that many games without a bit lucky at times. And there have been games where, and the amount of games Liverpool have won by 1 goal, for example. You mentioned the Villa game there. There's been many, many games, Tottenham away, where they haven't played brilliant, but they've done enough just to get the win, with a point where you can just say, well, yeah, they probably deserve that because they did X, Y, and Z. Whereas they haven't been blowing many teams away, but they've won. I was going to say won the games that matter. They've won all the games. So it is ridiculous what they've done, and they've had to do it because what happened last year with City. They knew, hang on, even if we get 97 points, which they need to win another 4 games, don't they, to get to that? And they've only got 7 games left. That shows you how well they played last season as well. And City got 100 points the year before that. So, I mean, I wrote a piece saying Liverpool should be, saying thanks to Guardiola and to City for what they've done, that they've pushed them in to get to where they needed to be, because that's why Liverpool have needed to be this good, to absolutely make sure that they were going to win the league. And they've ended up winning it by, with 7 games to go, which has never happened before. No one's won it with 6 games to go. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's 183 points in the last 69 league matches over the 2 seasons. Absolutely remarkable when you think about it. Caoimhe, the moments that stand out for you?
There's so many, isn't there? Obviously, these have had the pick of the bunch there, but obviously, just quickly run through. Obviously, you feel the Aston Villa turnaround was massive in the whole project, really, wasn't it? Of going to win the Premier League season. It showed Liverpool had a switch and would turn it off until that never say die mentality, and that then we've seen it the past couple of seasons, but it really just in that game was so important. Then obviously the Leicester game, I think, because it was Boxing Night, I was in the pub with my sisters, my mates, and I feel like it was such a good performance on the back of what was such a crazy and hectic month. And then it's the festivities that go along with Christmas. I think you'd enjoy games, when you've played well, especially it's such a nice time of year. And then I think obviously we had the derby games like that. Like Ian said, the 1 goal margin games, Sheffield United, like Wijnaldum's stuffy goal there. Them moments were so important because Liverpool dropped points. It feeds the beast that was Man City, but Liverpool were able to keep finding them goals as stuffy as they could be or as world class and magical, and they were getting across the line, and that's what they've done, isn't it? Really. Obviously, I think the Man United game was probably the most defining and important of the season, just because not only did Alisson run the length of the pitch and beat everyone else to Mohamed Salah, but I think the Kop and, the whole of Anfield then singing, "Now you're going to believe us, we're going to win the league," because that's the moment. They always believe, but they didn't believe necessarily as a collective. And I think they were fearful of saying it too soon, with what's happened in the past. I think the last time they sang it in 13-14 at Old Trafford, I think. So, Liverpool fans are very wary of when they do sing that song. And, they picked the moment, as did Salah that night. So I feel like that was sort of the game. Then killing off City at home, Fabinho's goal. Like, you think of all these amazing moments of the season that without them, this wouldn't be possible. And you say it's not one moment that wins the season, but it felt like one moment that we lost the season, didn't it? Obviously, the 11 millimeters or whatever it was. And then Vincent Kompany's goal, City would say, that was their moment of the season last season. So there's so many, and you've almost forgot, because it's been 3 months, that like there was you've had to sort of like recharge and go, what happened? We'll have to, but I think we'll all be buying this DVD, won't we, lads?
Yeah. Certainly, Jurgen Klopp saying that for him it was just before, obviously, lockdown was imposed and the win over Bournemouth. I have to say for myself, it was probably the Bournemouth away game. I think Liverpool went 19 points clear at that stage and obviously weren't going to let up lead. We best talk about Jurgen then. Gorst, he's been holding a press conference virtually this afternoon celebrating the fact that Liverpool are champions. And, well, throw it over to you, just how important he's been in this whole project in actually taking Liverpool back to the summit of football.
Oh, it's possible to overstate how important he's been, to be honest. I mean, he played his own kind of input down today in his press conference when he named pretty much all of his backroom staff. And of course, people like Pep Linders and Pete Davidson. He mentioned the nutritionist, Mona Neme, John Activate, the goalkeeping coach, and so many others of his backroom staff. He mentioned them all. And of course, they've all played their part. It's been a collective effort. But it's, I'd say you can't overstate the fact that he's had since coming into the club less than 5 years ago. He was saying last night that, okay, they were never able to win the Premier League straight away. So he's only really been able to win the Premier League for about 2 years because he's only had a squad good enough to challenge in them 2 years, and they've won it and they've walked away with it. So he's an incredible manager, an incredible motivator, and every time you hear him talk, he says something that makes you think, and you think, oh, he's just surmised something so kind of important and nuanced and difficult to kind of be an expert on in the space of 10 words and 1 sentence or whatever. He's just an expert communicator, and Liverpool are lucky to have him. And it's great that he signed a contract extension in December, because he's the world's best manager for me, and he's only going to take this Liverpool, even further on over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it certainly is. Gorst, I know you've got to duck out shortly, but Doyle, off the back of that, then talking of the importance of Jurgen Klopp for Liverpool and just exactly what he's done. He spoke in that press conference. He was asked about last season, of course, losing one game, getting 97 points, and how he got more out of the squad. And he said it wasn't a case of asking them for more. It was a case of asking them to repeat it, and that they certainly have done.
Well, yeah, they have. And part of the reason for that is that they didn't make any major signings, did they, in the summer? They kept everybody together. I know we've spoken about this to death, basically, but they did keep all of their main players. None of them left. And look what happens when you keep your best players and you've got a manager like Jurgen Klopp. I think it was Andy Robertson said last night, he's like a father figure. I mean, a few of them have said this in the past, but I think he said it last night that he is the dad of the entire thing. Basically, the whole squad, the whole Melwood, they all look up to him. And if they're going the extra 1% for him, then that extra 1% is the thing that's got them over the line, because as we've just mentioned, you said then 97 points last season wasn't quite enough. They just needed to do exactly the same again. And I don't think we can understate just how difficult it is to do that again and again. I mean, Liverpool have shown, funny enough, with Jurgen Klopp, you've got to mention FSG here, because not only did they manage to get him to come to the club, which at the time even I thought, well, it didn't seem very realistic given the fact that what Liverpool were at that particular time in the autumn of 2015. But also he's had failures. He lost the League Cup final. He lost the Europa final, the Champions League, and that was just in his first season. But he bought himself a bit of time by that progress. Then the following season they got into the Champions League. There was no silverware. The next year they didn't win the Champions League final, and you could argue last year they didn't win the Premier League. And in some ways, the most important game that got played last year for Liverpool's Premier League title hope this year was to beat Barcelona 4-0. Because if they hadn't won that game, they wouldn't have then got to the Champions League final. Because we've done this before, that the feeling around the club at that moment was, oh, well, we've done all of this. We've been brilliant this season, and it's going to come away with nothing before that second leg. But to turn that around, since then, they won the Champions League, the Super Cup, the Club World Cup, and now the Premier League winners, while losing one Premier League game. They're going to probably create a record, and they're probably going to be the best Liverpool team ever. So that shows you that people made not so much a big deal of his, I think, was it 7 finals in a row that he lost? But look what happens if you keep on trying. And that's something that Klopp's always said. If you just keep on trying and trying, and you keep improving, you keep believing in yourself, then you'll get to where you want to be. And Liverpool are so far ahead of everybody else as a consequence of all of those actions, then, it's just, this is the best little team there's ever been.
Doyle said there, Caoimhe, that Jurgen Klopp's like a dad for the Liverpool players. I suppose he showed that last night with his celebrations, with his dad dancing, letting his hair down and enjoying himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a video not so long ago, like it was at a charity ball or something, and he was doing a bit of dance, wasn't he? And then obviously stuff emerged from Madrid. So any chance I think the fans get to see, because, he's happy and charismatic and he's always got a smile, as he is, he is a professional and he is very serious and wants to win. That's the other side to him. So I think, everyone was letting their hair down, weren't they, after that? And obviously to see Klopp just dancing like that, I just think, I don't know, there's no manager like him in world football. I don't think there's a human like him in the world. He's so special, and Liverpool's so gifted that they got him, like you mentioned there, FSG getting him in. That changed Liverpool Football Club's fortunes. We can speak for days about all these amazing players, Jordan Henderson, what he's done, stuck around for them years and, fought for his place. And, you could go through every player and sort of say that where they've come from, the journeys have been incredible. But Jurgen Klopp is just so different. It is Shankly Pay. And he was there last year because of Madrid, and he'll always be, on the banners on the Kop. We'll sing about him forever. But winning the Premier League and ending that 30-year wait, it just changes everything. I've got goosebumps saying it because it's magic what he's done. He's transformed. I'm getting too excited here. I'm losing me words. He's just literally he's transformed Liverpool's fortunes. 30 years is such a long time. He's a 23-year-old man. Then, he wouldn't have imagined in 30 years' time he's going to do this. Liverpool meant probably nothing to him then, and now it means the world to him. And he means the world to Liverpool and Liverpool fans. I just think he's a remarkable football manager, but most importantly, I think he's a remarkable man.
Yeah, how important is that, Doyle, that he gets the city, he gets Liverpool Football Club? And as Caoimhe was saying there, 30 years ago, nobody, it's the trotted out line, nobody said then that Liverpool wouldn't be champions within the next 30 years. But that understanding he has for the city, he was asked about that in the press conference, that Steven Gerrard said he should get a statue, and he was very quick to downplay that one as well.
Yeah, I think he was saying that partly because he's kind of suggesting that he'd have to die to get a statue. So he doesn't want one anytime soon, thank you very much, because he sees it as like, okay, great, we've won the league, brilliant. But he was saying, what's your message to Manchester City, whatever, says we're not going to. We just need to keep on going. You saw from his reaction on television last night where he was in tears, which he admitted earlier today that caught him out a little bit. I'm pretty sure he wasn't the only grown man to be crying last night at about 10:10. I'd like to point out I was not one of those, by the way. I have absolutely no emotions whatsoever. And what was the question again? Sorry, you've put me off. Oh yeah, basically, does he get the City? Yeah, he gets. Well, the interesting thing about that is I remember when Liverpool sacked Brendan Rodgers, and immediately the Echo, we were writing stories about Jurgen Klopp's the favourite, and I was thinking, no, he says, why would he go there? Look at the mess that they're in. But that it wasn't so much about the club; it was about the city, and it was about the whole area and the whole history and the whole ethos of everything. Because even then, we were thinking, well, he's absolutely perfectly suited for this. If there's any manager who's ready-made for a club, it's Jurgen Klopp to take over at Liverpool. So when he did, and he came out, he said the things that he said about doubters, and he turned doubters into believers in the backpack of history. Immediately got everybody on side, and he instantly bought himself 3 years straight away. Because in the past, as I mentioned before, about people, Liverpool managers, you look at Benitez when he nearly won the league in 2009, he'd gone the next year. Houllier had gone 2 years after finishing second in 2002. Rodgers lasted barely a year after 2014. When they've got close, it's been like they've always been stretching, and they've never been able to build on that. But with Klopp, he's seen the bigger picture, and he's always been building, which is why the owners have not so much stuck with him, but have had total belief in him. I mean, he's got another 4 years left on his contract. I mean, another 4 years. Been there for 9 years. I think I'm right in saying Bob Paisley was manager for 9 years. So what else can Klopp achieve in this time? And he's come from taking the club from a much more difficult position than Bob Paisley did when he took over. So, he does get the City. He did mention, of course, that he gets it that much that he doesn't pop into it very often because he knows he'll just end up being mobbed or bothered, I should say. But not through being pestered, but just people wanting to say, hi. And if he goes in there, I can imagine if he went in there at the weekend, everybody would get going up to him and just offering, not a handshake or a hug, but, an old elbow bump and, thanks a lot for that. You made an awful lot of people happy. And it's not just, you mentioned about Caoimhe and Gorst being the younger generation who'd not seen Liverpool win in the past, but it's even the older ones who probably thought, I mentioned my dad again. Like he was 50 when they won the league last time. Now he's 80. And I'm pretty sure there was some times where he was thinking, I'm probably never going to see this again, to be honest. But so, he's somebody who's, I can tell you he's made up with it. And he's as proud as, the 11, 12, 13-year-old who's experienced it for the first time. And that's because of what the manager's done and everybody's bought into it. And with that 12th man, the fans, going back to last night, it was some way that they won it last night by not playing, because everybody then could share in the experience in a way that they would have done anyway. Because if they won it in the stadium, there'd have been nobody there. But this way, all of the players and the fans and everybody was sat at home or wherever they were watching it, whether it's with like family or themselves or with the friends or whatever. And everybody had that same moment of watching the penalty go and of hearing the final whistle go, and that was it. So they did end up sharing in the experience of Liverpool winning the league, but probably not in the way that they would have expected.
I think you meant, sorry, just to jump in, I think when you mentioned there the 12th man, Liverpool fans obviously deserve so much credit for this title when they were there. But the main thing that they've done, which you mentioned there, Ian, was giving Jurgen Klopp the time.
Yeah.
Being patient with him has then, enabled him to give Liverpool fans the biggest gift of all, which is getting, ending this drought. I think the fans deserve so much credit for that, just for patience. But I think I was speaking about this with my mum, and I think Jurgen Klopp, we speak about how remarkable he is there, but there couldn't have been anyone else that have received that much patience, I don't think. I think as soon as he come, it was a bond was forged, and and then Liverpool fans knew this is it. This fella's special. I think he almost got that patience as well because of the one key thing he done in his career was obviously winning 2 titles with Borussia Dortmund, and I think that was the one thing Liverpool fans would go back and think of. And well, he done that. If you look now, Bayern Munich have won 8 in a row. That's, it never looks, I know Dortmund got close again this year, but it never looks like they're not going to win the Bundesliga. You bet your house on it, wouldn't you? Every season, you just seem to find a way. But Jurgen Klopp was able to stop that twice. And I feel like that part of his career is so important for this part. And it's almost, two clubs who obviously sing You'll Never Walk Alone now will, Jurgen Klopp has united them and brought them the thing they wanted most.
Yeah, the point I was going to say to you, Caoimhe, as well, is we talk and effectively during lockdown, we wasted so many minutes on this podcast talking about succession planning for Liverpool, whether that be in forward areas or anything. But does this not, and the emotions that you've already sort of outlined today, does it not make you realise and understand how important it is for Liverpool to live in the moment with this they've got, to cherish it and just see this side go and dominate without being bothered about what comes next?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that was, a reminder for the past couple of seasons. You'd often see, fans and people that I meet, and I'd say to myself, just enjoy this right now, because whatever happens, it might not happen, And last season it didn't happen in terms of the Premier League, so we were living in that moment and enjoying. I love going the match and then ending up out, or into the early hours with my mates drinking or whoever, and you really enjoy them. I sound like a right alcoholic. You drink responsibly. Don't follow mine. Don't follow me. But yeah, I just feel like there's so many special moments. I was thinking last night, because I went up to see my granddad, and then I was working for a little bit, helping out. And then I went up the stairs last night, and I just said to my mum, all the times I've come in from the match, over the years when there was some bad results, and that's been a long time now. You haven't been to Anfield since Crystal Palace 2017 to defeat. And I thought about all them moments, and Ian will be the same, and everyone listening, discussing them moments and feeling, that sort of feeling after a loss that just sits so heavy on you, and I think I remember as well, obviously, that Crystal Palace game, obviously when they come back 3-3, we don't like to mention that a lot, but nights like that are so low. So to have these highs right now, you've almost got to live in them lows and know that one day it will come, So remember, I think going forward, you have to be mindful that, Liverpool might not be as good as they are right now. It might completely fall off. I doubt that, because they're the best team in the world, and they're going to win the Premier League next season as well, and everything else. They'll win it all. Just putting that down now. But you do have to live, I think, like you say, in the moment, because you don't know what's given to you. You don't know what comes next. So I think Liverpool fans have endured those years of real hardship to now just be living. And I think lockdown was hard in terms of the suspension of football, because you were waiting for it to happen, and for a little bit it was nice, just we were sitting off with 25-point lead, so you knew it was coming. But it was quite a worry last week when you did, like Klopp said, see City, and you were thinking, well, if Liverpool lose to Palace and then City, and then it's 17 points, and then you're kind of thinking, you question it, and then Liverpool just, they rolled out their own carpets on Wednesday, didn't they, and sort of put that to bed for us all. But yeah, it's hard now to almost live in the moment, because we do all feel, we're living in our little separate caves, aren't we? And we're all, hidden away from each other. But there will come a time again, we'll be back at Anfield, and we will be together again to live them moments. And I'm very sure there's going to be a lot more coming.
I think what this has done as well is it's made everybody, certainly Liverpool fans, realise just how hard it is to actually win a league. I mean, you see every single game, just not every single game, like the Palace one was a bit forward, but there's always a point in a game where it's a bit of a struggle. But in a cup, you can win the FA Cup, I think it's 6 or 7 games. Champions League's a bit more difficult, but you always have 2 legs apart from the final. But for the league, it's every single week, probably sometimes twice a week, you got to pick yourself up. The players who've got injuries, some people won't be playing, people who come in from the cold. The likes of, Adrian, what a story he's had this season. In August, he wasn't playing for anybody. Then he's ended up winning. He saved the pen, won the Super Cup. He's played a third of a season that won the Premier League, and he was on the bench for the Club World, because he's going to get Club World Cup. He'll end up getting 3 trophies this season. It's little stories like that. It's not just about Sammy, and players like that. They're the key. But without all the other players around them, then you've got no chance of winning it, because you can win cups, but you're not going to be winning leagues unless you've got a strong squad, and something that, as I mentioned before, Liverpool did well. It doesn't matter that they necessarily didn't sign anybody major last season. They managed to keep hold of everybody. And all of those players knew exactly, right, we know exactly what we need to do now. We know how difficult this is, which is why even from, I think it was the second game of the season, the second game when Liverpool went to Southampton, which was another forgotten key game where they'd been in Istanbul, they'd beaten Chelsea in the Super Cup. They'd gone 2-0 ahead. Adrian then, he made a couple of good saves. He made that mistake. Danny Ings scores 2-1. And then Liverpool are hanging on a little bit, looked a bit tired, but they got through. And then Manchester City drew 2-2 with Tottenham. Was that right? Was that weekend? It was, wasn't it? Yeah. It was, because so instantly you go, well, hang on, Liverpool are 2-point lead here. And everybody knew how important that lead could end up being because of the fact that there was only 1 point difference the previous season, and you knew that City weren't. We thought then that City weren't going to drop many points. Liverpool are becoming what City were. They just kept going on, and as we've mentioned a few times on this podcast, they've worn City down. They've broken the spirit a little bit in a way, and that doesn't come back. It comes from the whole learning process of how you do this week in, week out, again and again and again and again, which is why Liverpool were so strong in the 70s and 80s, and why there's absolutely no reason to suggest that they're not going to be strong for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, before we go, let's talk then of Liverpool moving to the immediate future, and also, as Doyle suggests there, the next couple of years. Jurgen Klopp saying in his press conference, we have big dreams. He's no intention of Liverpool going anywhere anytime soon. But on the immediate future, said today, obviously about celebrating, but we'll be back training tomorrow. And Caoimhe, on what Doyle said there on the squad strength, of you think of the issues in goal with Alisson being injured, the likes of Matip and Gomez also being injured, Lovren, and there's been a lot of change at centre half as well. It speaks for the collective nature that Liverpool have, that actually with all of those changes within the squad through the course of the season, they're still on course to record the most amount of wins in a Premier League season. They've become the first side to win all 19 home games in a Premier League season. They could have the biggest gap to second place and, of course, have the most points ever recorded in a Premier League season.
Yeah, I think when you look back, Liverpool, you always knew that the key would be to having, squad depth. That's the foundation for any, title charge. We've seen that with pretty much every team, other than maybe your Leicester Cities, but obviously, they had that team that just played pretty much every game. But that squad depth is so important. That can't be underestimated at all. I think, if you look at Man City, I feel like they've probably got, a better bench almost. You just look and it's like ridiculous, isn't it, in terms of who they're bringing on. Sometimes you kind of like, oh my God. But then you look at Liverpool and you think, well, we've got players who do that. They might not necessarily have cost us like 80 million or whatever to sit on the bench. They might be Adrian, who was free. They might be whoever else, But having those players there and sort of, I think that how Jurgen Klopp is in Melwood and how he treats the players, they very much feel a part of that. Andy Lonergan will feel like a Premier League champion, very much so. And there's players like that who are just in and around, the young players who are now, being shown the minutes. And I think, that'll continue in the next 7 games, won't it? I feel like getting the academy the way it is and knowing the, playing football in a similar way and bringing them through in that way. Liverpool never used to do that. That never happened. And they never used to have squad depth. I always think that Real Madrid game away, and I think Coutinho, Sterling, Gerrard were on the bench. Rodgers played that mad side, didn't he? And I always remember looking at that bench thinking, wow, that's a strong bench. Like, I'd love if Liverpool had that strong bench and then a strong first team, well, because they would go places. And, it's took Klopp a while to negotiate. And, we know Liverpool don't just splash the cash on any old player. It's very in-depth, but it's a thoughtful process, obviously. And, that took a while. And I feel like, we mentioned the patience thing before, but this has been a real, I know it's happened quicker than I think I think he's the first manager to win the Champions League and Premier League. So it's took him 4 seasons to do that, which is just, I know I've said the word remarkable, so I'll say incredible instead for the sake of arguing. You think of that, but that did take such a long time to develop. And, you think of them sort of moments like pre-season when Mamadou Sakho and whatever happened there with that. And then Klopp sort of just seemed to cut ties with these players one by one. They slowly, he was slowly letting them go. And you'd always wanted that to happen. I remember with Rodgers, you were kind of like, get rid of the sort of driftwood in a respectful way, but never seemed to happen. And then players would just linger about the squad, where Jurgen now brings in players that just, even if they're going to sit on the bench all season, they're happy to do so. You look at Shaqiri, who, he might well be off this summer, but he's very much been a player who's been instructed, you're going to be sort of a rotation play. You're not going to be playing every game, but I want you to have the hunger to play every game. And I feel like, he's just set the marker down with every player, and they've all understood that, what they needed to do as an individual to achieve collectively, and now they've done that.
Yeah, they certainly have. And Doyle and Klopp did say about smashing records, and you do feeling, although he's been very quiet on it in conferences through the course of the season, being the best ever Premier League side is something that would be quite nice for Liverpool to take on. And then, of course, it's about now replicating this in future seasons.
Yeah, well, they've got nothing to aim for this season, don't have they? What do they need? 15.5 wins from 7 games to be the best. I mean, 3 of them are at home, so they've got a very good chance. I mean, he did sound a word of warning, didn't he? After I think the City game starts 6 games in not very many days, and then finish a week later at Newcastle. So it's doable, but I don't think it's quite. I don't think it's the main target. I'm pretty sure that we're expecting next season to start pretty soon after the end of this one, and he's already looking into that campaign. Then he's not going to be risking players for the sake of it. This one's done, but yeah, I think there's a part of him that will like to be known as that. But the fact is, I don't think he's that bothered, to be honest. He's won the Premier, hasn't he? And that's what really matters. I know we talk about points totals and whatnot, but I think the only reason we talk about Liverpool's points total last season because they didn't win it. Are we going to end up talking about the points total this season? Don't think so. It'll just be about, Liverpool won the Premier League title for the first time in 30 years, and that's what it'll always be.
Yeah, certainly will be. Well, that wraps us up here on this edition of the Blood Red podcast. There'll be plenty more reaction to Liverpool becoming champions of England for the first time in 30 years. That 19th league title across the Blood Red channel, across the Liverpool Echo. Do make sure that you check those out. From myself, Guy Clarke, Ian Doyle and Caoimhe O'Neill, though, thank you for your time and your company. It's bye for now.